All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Lindberg. I am our Director of First Year Admission here at Mary Washington. I'm excited to have you joining us tonight. We are in a Zoom room, so it's not a webinar platform, so we can see and hear you. So if you don't want to be on video, please feel free to turn off your video. While I'm presenting, we do ask that you guys mute, but when it comes to questions, happy to have them in the chat or to unmute yourself so that we can have conversations. We have a pretty big group joining us tonight, so I am also joined by one of our admissions counselors, Carson Barrier. So you will see Carson in the chat helping answer questions and asking and fielding some different questions as we go through. We do have a mixture of students on the chat tonight or on the session tonight that are both students that have gone ahead and paid their deposit and are committed to Mary Washington. We also have a few students that are still making their decision. So I want to make sure that we are asking and answering all of those different questions for you because we may be at different parts in the process. So please keep that in mind. If there is something that you have questions about that I don't go over in the session, please feel free to wait till the end. We'll answer any additional remaining questions. But I'm primarily going to be going over what happens next. What does that look like? What do you need to make sure that you are doing to stay on top of this transition to Mary Washington for the fall of 2023? That is what we're going to be looking at. I am recording this session this evening. So please keep that in mind. Again, if you don't want to be on camera, go ahead and turn off your video, although I do love seeing smiling faces, so it does help if you do, but we are going to be recording tonight's session. So let's go ahead and kick it off. Hopefully everybody can see my screen. Carson, can you just give me a confirmation you still got it? Perfect, thank you. So you are looking to make your deposit or have made that deposit. What comes next? So first and foremost, I know that there are some of you, like I said, that are still waiting to make that deposit and are still weighing those different pros and cons. So hopefully we can answer some questions to help you solidify your decision in coming to Mary Washington. If you know and you just don't know where to go to pay that deposit, you will want to go to the UMW/URN website. Those instructions are also in your offer of admission packet. You can accept your offer of admission and your admissions portal too, where you went to upload any of your application materials. That is another good place where you can do that. After you make that deposit, it will secure your space in the class of 2027. So that is really the key component, that piece that kicks off all of these different next steps that we're going to discuss tonight, including the first year questionnaire, how to set up your net ID and password, when do I use my net ID and password, what is the housing and dining agreement, when does that need to be done by, registering for orientation, and then key important dates that are going to be coming down the road and things that you need to be thinking about as the fall semester begins and in leading up to that. So we're first going to start with what we call the first next step, which is the first year questionnaire, which encompasses a lot of different things. So after you've made that commitment to Mary Washington by paying your deposit to enroll, you will get an email regarding the first year questionnaire. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to hear us in a number of different sessions talk about, what are some of the things that Mary Washington values in terms of your experience inside the classroom and through that liberal arts and sciences core that all of our students take. Well, the first year seminar course is one of those items, and how you get to the first year seminar happens through the first year questionnaire. So that first email will typically come about 24 to 48 hours after you've submitted your enrollment deposit, which is a $550 deposit. $300 goes to enrollment, $250 goes to housing to secure your space in the class. That email comes from Dr. Wynn. So Dr. April Wynn is our director of our first year experience at Mary Washington. She is the individual that's responsible for guiding all of the faculty that are instructing those different courses in the first year seminar class. She is the one that oversees and helps with our peer mentor program as well. So you'll get that first year questionnaire from Dr. Wynn. And really what this does is not only place you into your first year seminar class, but this is going to be a document that guides Dr. Wynn and our team in academic services to place you into all of your classes your first semester. So this is something that you want to make sure that you are completing in a time where you can be dedicated to looking at the questions, reading the questions, and answering them thoughtfully. It probably takes about 20 to 30 minutes to complete, but the questions are going to ask you about your academic interests, about what you want to pursue in terms of major. And this could change from what you answered on your application, and that's okay. So remembering that our students come into Mary Washington undeclared, you have not committed yourself to any program unless you're a nursing student up until this point in time. So if you initially thought when you were applying to Mary Washington that you wanted to major in psychology, but now you're leaning towards maybe you want to become a teacher, so you switch your mind to education, that's okay. You just update that interest in the first year questionnaire. It's also going to start asking you questions about which different areas you want to take or different courses you want to take for the different subjects that are part of our general education requirements. So if you were to take a natural sciences class, would you prefer that class to be biological sciences or chemistry? Maybe it's earth and environmental for you. It'll start asking you those pieces. What better suits you? What is more interesting to you? All of these questions will help our team put you into your classes for your first semester. Okay, they will also keep in mind things that you have already taken. Maybe you've taken some dual enrollment classes. It'll ask you a question about that. It will also ask you about AP courses you have taken, as well as IB classes. So if you've taken advanced level courses where you potentially could earn credit at Mary Washington for those things, it will ask you to anticipate what courses may you already have covered by different AP, IB exam scores or through dual enrollment credit. Okay, so you gather all of this information, and then one of the last questions on there is going to be about the first year seminar course itself. So remember that first year seminar course is a class all of our students take their first semester, their freshman year. It is a transitional course to help you understand the resources and benefits of a Mary Washington education and what is available to you and what the expectations are for you in the classroom, all rooted in a topic area. So this year we are offering 54 different first year seminar classes. They range in topics from things that have to do with true crime to things that have to do with history, things that are more social justice and leadership focused. There's courses on music and psychology. There's courses in the natural sciences and biological sciences. There's courses in mathematics. There are a wide variety of options. On our university website, there is a description and a course description page that you can take a look at to see all of the different topics for those first year seminar classes. And you may want to jot a few down and say, okay, these ones sound interesting to me, and put together a list of ones that would be like, okay, I could take that class. You will only be placed into one, but when you go into that first year questionnaire and you start listing your choices, you may notice that not all 54 are there. And that's because our students have had access to complete this questionnaire since the middle of February. And some of those classes have filled. So they are filled on a first come, first serve basis. One class that I know for certain that was the first one to fill this year was called True Crime in Modern Times. So while that one may be interesting, unfortunately, it's not available for you right now. We have maximized the 15 seats in that class. Another one that you may not see on there is also it's called Thriving in College, the Psychology of Positive Thinking. So that one has already filled. Others you will definitely see multiple sections of and opportunities to still take. So please know that there are lots of options there. I'm sure you will find other choices if those happen to be your top two. And if you're an undecided student and truly don't know what you want to study, take a first year seminar class that sounds interesting to you, because we find that students that take a course that is sounding interesting to them are going to do better in that class than taking a first year seminar class that they have no interest in. So make sure that that content sounds interesting to you when you put it on your list. You will prioritize your top 5 choices for a first year seminar class on the questionnaire itself. Some of you, if you filled out your questionnaire early and actually filled it out prior to last Friday, you have potentially already gotten your first year seminar course. So that's exciting. You know, one of the classes that you're going to be taking in the fall semester. So we have gone ahead and released those to students. We'll do another release probably in May, and then full course schedules will come out in June prior to orientation. So you will know what classes we have placed you into in June. And you may be sitting there going, okay, Sarah, well, you haven't mentioned anything about academic advising yet. And that's okay, because the way that we process this is that we are going to go ahead and put you into those classes, and then you will schedule a one-on-one virtual advising appointment during the month of July with your FSEM instructor, so your first year seminar instructor, or one of our academic services professionals. Okay. You will schedule that Zoom. You will have a conversation about how you answered questions on the questionnaire, what courses we have placed you into for the fall semester. You can talk about any potential adjustments that you may want to make. Okay. All students have from the first week in July until the end of July to schedule that advising appointment. Okay. There is no rush for you to make sure that you schedule it on the 1st, because no first year students will be able to make adjustments to their schedule until the first week in August. And we open it up at the same time for everyone. So if you have your appointment July 1st, or if you have your appointment July 29th, you will still all have the same opportunity to make adjustments to your schedule, should you need to, starting that first week in August. If you don't go through that advising appointment and that one-on-one advising, you will not have access to make any adjustments or changes to your schedule. So it will be important that when those emails come through that say, hey, go ahead and schedule your advising appointment with me, you make sure that you carve out that, 20 to 30 minutes during the month of July to have that appointment. Okay. We did have a question early on and prior to this session about some of our assessment and placement exams and whether or not students need to take them. So those are great questions. First off is the chemistry assessment exam. If you are a student that is interested in majoring in something in the natural sciences, biology, biochemistry, chemistry, physics, earth and environmental sciences, if you are thinking about pre-health, pre-dental, pre-vet, it will be important for you to take the chemistry assessment exam, okay? You need to take this chemistry assessment exam prior to May 15th. If you would like to have the results of that exam place you into a chemistry course that is built onto your schedule that you get in the first week of June. If you take it after that time, you will have the opportunity to then have the make adjustments during the adjustment period after your July advising session. So it is important that if you are planning on majoring in the natural sciences, that you take that chemistry assessment. If you are unsure about whether or not you need to take that chemistry assessment exam, you can always ask your personal admissions counselor, and they will likely ask you questions about what your intended major is for you to take it. I will let you know, I knew right away in my heart that chemistry was not going to be something that I was considering, and I was not considering a pathway into going to medical school or physician's assistant programs or anything like that when I was a student. So I did not have to take the chemistry assessment exam. All right. So it is not a requirement for everybody. Another one that you may have questions about is our foreign language placement exam. Foreign language placement and foreign language is part of our general education requirements. So a couple of different ways that you can meet that requirement. First and foremost, if you have taken 4 years of the same foreign language in high school, so through French 4 or Spanish 4 or AP Spanish or AP French or AP Latin, you will then have satisfied that requirement. Okay. If you are a student who took 2 years of one language and 2 years of another language, you will still need to take a foreign language at Mary Washington, or maybe you stopped at Spanish 3, you will still need to take a foreign language at Mary Washington or take the placement exam and see where you place. Is the placement exam required for foreign languages? The answer is no, but it'll help you determine based on your the knowledge you already have from high school of where you should start in our sequence. So all of our students are required to complete through the 201 level of a foreign language. That could mean up to 3 semesters. That could mean 1 semester for a student that places directly into 201. If you are a student that is bilingual or even trilingual, or maybe you speak a language that isn't part of the placement exam, but that's your native language, we can work to connect you with the department chair for modern foreign languages to determine whether or not a placement exam would be necessary, or knowing your level of fluency based on it being your native language, if you have met the requirements of what our diploma or what our degree requires for the bachelor's degree. Okay, so there are a couple of different ways that you can do that too. So keep in mind, while we have these different assessments and placements, it's not a blanket, everyone has to do it. And at the same time, there are different timelines, but May 15th is a good time to get both of those done by, and they are both available for you now. Okay. After you do the first year questionnaire, you will get information on setting up your UMW Net ID and password. Okay. This comes second because where you log in to do your questionnaire is in your admissions portal. And where you log in or what you do to set up your Net ID and password is going to be different. They are not the same thing. So you will hear us often refer to your admissions portal, which is where you checked on your application status, and then also your UMW Net ID and password. Your UMW Net ID and password is what you will use going forward when it comes to logging into your UMW email account, when it comes to logging into My UMW, where you go to complete the housing and dining agreement, where you go to complete orientation. All of those different systems use the UMW Net ID and password, okay? You will receive this email and I encourage you to thoroughly read through the instructions, because we don't give you your temporary password in the email. We give you a link to where you will put together or build out what your temporary password is, and then you will be asked to change it. It is important that you start checking both your UMW email regularly along with your personal email, because offices will start communicating with both. Admissions, we communicate with both, as long as, in addition to adding parents on important messages. Other offices will start only communicating with that UMW email address. So it is good to start getting into the habit of checking that regularly, adding it to your cell phone if you're a person that has your email on your cell phone. Those are good things and good habits to start building over the course of this summer, because as the summer progresses, we are less and less going to communicate with your personal email address and more communicate with that UMW email address. Another important piece is to keep in mind with this one is that this password for your Net ID actually expires every 42 days. And that may seem pretty frequent. I will tell you, this is to keep your information safe, to try and cut down as much we can on phishing email and scams and everything like that. So keep in mind, if you set this up back in February when it was available and haven't logged in since then, your password's going to have expired and you're going to need to reset that. And you may have to do that with assistance through the IT help desk. So again, it's stressing the importance of taking that to checking that regularly, and then making sure that you update your password when those 42 days come. And they will give you a 10-day window when your password is about to expire. Okay. So using your Net ID and UMW password, you are going to go on to our next step, which is completing the housing and dining agreement. This message comes to your email as step 3 of those next steps. Also available and linked to you in your admissions portal, where you can go and fill it out. You will log in with your UMW Net ID, that password, and work on housing and dining. We have 4 different first-year residence halls for students to choose from. They are and include Randolph Hall, Willard Hall, Westmoreland Hall, and Virginia Hall. Questions that we often get about housing in the summer, if you've not heard, all of our residence halls do have air conditioning. Whether they are window unit or central air depends upon the building. We have 2 first-year residence halls that are hall bath. Those are going to be Virginia and Willard. And we have 2 that are suite bath. That's going to be Westmoreland and Randolph Halls. Okay. You will have the opportunity to list your preferences for residence halls on the housing and dining agreement. They are assigned at random. Okay, so what building you get placed in is a random selection for our students. And you have until May 15th to go ahead and fill out this housing and dining agreement. All right. Questions we often get: how do I match with a roommate? One, I want you all to know you are not responsible for finding your own roommate. Can you? Absolutely. But I don't want students to feel that pressure, and I don't want you to feel that pressure very specifically. So how do you find your roommate? What can you do? How is that done? So if you just say, you know what, I don't want that pressure, let Residence Life do it for me, that's great. They've been doing it for years and years and years. And they have questions within the housing and dining agreement that are going to ask you about your lifestyle, different study habits. Are you someone who keeps the room super clean? Or are you somebody that's messy? Do you like to go to bed late or go to bed early? What about studying in the room? Do you like it quiet when to study, or do you want music or the TV on, right? It's going to ask you all of those different types of living situation questions to help match you with someone that is going to match your different habits, right? This is important that when you are filling this out, that you are truthful and honest with you, because if you are not, then the matching is not going to really work with that. So please keep that in mind. And parents, I know we have a few of you on here today. As much as it may be tempting to fill this out for your student and say, yes, it'll be important for Sarah to wake or go to bed early and wake up early, that may not be Sarah's habit. And so you want to make sure that you are filling this out and that the students are filling this out and being honest and truthful with that, so that they can have a good housing environment with their roommate where everyone is respectable for everyone. One thing to keep in mind is that your roommate does not need to be your best friend. I actually encourage you, if you have someone else coming to UMW from your high school, that you consider not living together. Sometimes living together can be the end of best friendships. But at the same time, if you have a friend from high school that's living in a different building or on a different floor in the same building, you're going to expand your social network and your friend network, because they're going to have friends from their floor and you're going to have friends from your floor. And it really kind of opens up your eyes and helps you cast a larger friend group when you're coming and making that transition with everyone. For those of you that want to find your own roommates, you can certainly do that. One of the places that our students are going most often, other than knowing someone from their high school that's also coming to Mary Washington or from their local community, is using our social media platform, Zeme. Hopefully a lot of you are on there. I can always have Carson throw the link into the chat, and I do have more information on it a little bit later on. But the Zeme platform is a place where you can connect with other students in the class of 2027. There is a roommate matching questionnaire on there too, so that you can help facilitate and find your roommate. Some students are finding each other through Instagram as well. That's always another place, or they connect on Zeme and then they start having conversations on Snapchat, whatever that might be. So there are some different ways that you can go about finding your roommate. But rest assured, you can always lean into the housing and dining agreement and have Residence Life match you with a roommate. All right. With that agreement, if you are matching your own roommate, you will want to make sure that you both list each other in the preferred roommate section. So I would have to list Carson. Carson would have to list me. If we don't list each other, we will not be matched together. So it is important that if you are finding your own roommate, that you do make sure that you list one another. As well. All right. When it comes to dining, all of our first year students that are living residentially on campus will have what we call the Eagle Meal Plan. The Eagle Meal Plan is an unlimited meal plan at the top of the UC. For all you care to eat meals. So you go up, you swipe your card in, you go in, you have your meal, you leave. If you want to go back a half an hour later because another friend was like, oh, I want a snack, let's go have a snack together, you can swipe back in and go back in. You can have unlimited meals with the Eagle Meal Plan. Part of the reason why we have all of our first year students on the unlimited meal plan has to do with making sure that you're not having to balance, okay, I have 15 meals a week that average it out, and that's not breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. Which meals am I not going to eat here? And that, which can also lead to food insecurity. And we don't want that for our students. So the Eagle Meal Plan allows you to unlimited access to the top of the university center for residential students. If you are an off-campus student and you're living at home, but you know that you want to engage and be part of, and you're going to be on campus every day for lunch based on your schedule, you can always sign up for a commuter, we call it a commuter meal plan. We have different meal plans options for those students. So there are lesser meal options that wouldn't be that unlimited plan if you are someone who is living off campus. Right. If you're curious about housing and what different buildings look like, there are lots of pictures and videos on the Residence Life social media handle through Instagram. There are also videos on our YouTube channels and the university's YouTube channel that you can definitely check out. We are also planning some content for Instagram this spring to do some residence hall tours so that you can see some of those different options, and those should be coming shortly after May 1st. All right, so step 4 in this transition process and those next steps is going to be registering for orientation. So you've paid your deposit, you got your first year questionnaire. The next day you get an email about your net ID. The following day you get one about housing and dining. And then the last day you will get one about orientation registration. We have 5 June orientation dates. Please make notes of these. You will notice that the session 1 is actually scratched out on here. That is because session 1 of orientation has filled. So you have options between session 2 and 5 to attend our summer orientation. Summer orientation is a 2-day overnight experience. So 1 night overnight, but 2-day program that each of our students will be attending. When you come in for orientation, and even students that are planning to live off campus in the fall will stay overnight for orientation. We provide housing for students over the summer for this 1-night orientation. Parents, if you are choosing to join your student, which is a-okay, we are happy to have you there if you would like to join us. You will have to arrange for your own accommodations off campus. So please keep that in mind, that the housing that we have set up is for first year students, not for guests. Orientation in the email, and you can go to the orientation website. You will register through them using that UMW net ID and password to go ahead and register for your orientation date. If you are bringing a guest, you will indicate that on your registration form, and there is a $40 fee for each guest that you bring with you, and that is essentially to pay for the guests' meals throughout the 2-day experience. So keep that in mind. Certainly, students, you are welcome to come on your own. That is okay. But you are also welcome to bring family members as well. So it's truly up to you about how you approach the orientation experience. You will not necessarily be in your residence hall that you're going to be living in the fall during orientation. During orientation, we go back and forth between housing in Virginia Hall and Willard Hall. So you are randomly assigned a roommate for that 1-night orientation. If you know someone that's attending the same orientation and you guys want to room together that night, you can, what we encourage you to do is to check in at the same time. So Carson and I would go up and check in at the same time, and then we would be able to be matched for that 1-night orientation together. So if that is something that you're like, oh, I'm going to be staying with somebody random for 1 night and that makes me a little anxious, that's okay. Everybody's in the same boat, but if you do know someone else or have connected with somebody else that's also coming to that same orientation day, you guys can check in together and we can room you together for orientation for that 1 night. So other opportunities for connection building throughout the transition to Mary Washington over the summer and during the year. We do have NEST, which is New Experiences for Students Transitioning. The NEST program is an optional add-on for students. It does come with an additional cost, but the students that participate in NEST will move in on the Saturday prior to move-in for everyone else, which is August 23rd. And then from that Saturday to that Wednesday, they will have different programming throughout campus, in the downtown community. They sometimes take different field trips and different things. So everything from community service opportunities to leadership building programs to going and doing rafting down the river. They've done that before. They've gone to local baseball games before with the Fred Nats. There's a lot of different experiences that you can have with NEST. So if you are interested in NEST, that is something that you include when you are registering for orientation. I will tell you that Nest is almost full for this year. We are limited in the number of spaces that we can take for students for Nest, and that limit is 100. And the last I spoke with our team in orientation, there are 10 spaces still available. So if you are interested in doing Nest, I would encourage you to register sooner rather than later. There's no specific deadline date, but it will fill at 100 people. I have been told that they will put a wait list together. So if somebody decides not to do the experience and comes off the Nest list, that they will put people on in a wait list order. So if you're the first person on the wait list, you'd be the first person to be moved into the Nest program. Other options for building connections and having smaller cohort groups. Hopefully at this point, you've heard a little bit more about the Presidential Emerging Leaders Program, or PELP, which is for students that want to enhance and build upon their leadership skills and to understand themselves as a leader. This is a program that you can apply for now that happens throughout your first year at Mary Washington, and we are still accepting applications for PELP. We also have our Impact program, which is our community service and civic engagement program that students can apply for. So if you are a service-oriented individual, this might be something that you want to consider as well. Again, a smaller cohort. That cohort for both of these programs will be about 30 people. The other opportunity for mentorship program is our Rise Peer Mentor program. Applications for the Rise Peer Mentor program are not available yet, but should be available, and we will notify you via email throughout the summer to match you with a mentor, an upperclassman student, to help you transition and guide through your experience at Mary Washington. And you, for Rise, can be a mentee your first year and then transition to being a mentor in later years. So the Rise application is not available quite yet, but we will put that, we will email that out to students once it is available. For PELP, Carson, do you mind dropping the PELP link to apply in the chat? So we'll get the PELP link in the chat for you guys. You don't apply for Nest, you register for Nest through the same portal where you register for orientation. And Nest does come with an additional $180 fee, and that's really to pay for the meals while you move in early to campus, because meal plans don't start until Wednesday. Haley, you can log back in to your orientation, and it's an add-on program. So if you've already registered for an orientation, you can log back into that and add Nest to it. If you are interested in registering for Nest, you will want to go ahead and register now when you're also doing your orientation registration. If you wait until June to register for Nest, there will likely not be any space available, as we only have 10 spaces left in the Nest program right now. All right. Other important dates, things to be keeping in mind, and of course, we'll take what questions you guys have, and Carson does have some that were submitted prior to that she'll float my way and I'll answer for you guys. So remember, June orientation dates. We have 4 of the 5 remaining. They're available for you to register now. You will also have on July 1st is when we will tell you that your final high school transcript is due. If you have any AP, IB, or dual enrollment coursework, you will need to go ahead and submit your scores, which may not be available until just after July 1st, and that's okay. Just make sure that you've requested them. And for dual enrollment, you will need to make sure that you have requested an official transcript from the school that you have taken those dual enrollment courses at. Could be a 4-year school, could be a community college, that transcript has been sent over to us, okay? If you are participating in Nest, you have that extended orientation option, which will start the Saturday before move-in day. Move-in day this year is going to be on August 23rd. That is that Wednesday. We then have honor convocation that Friday evening. On Sunday, we will have Eagle Gathering, which will be one of the first traditional events you participate in at Mary Washington. And then the first day of classes will be August 28th. I know we have some other questions that came in. Carson, do you want to let me know what some of those questions were if I haven't hit on those answers yet?
Yeah, I've been able to fill out most of them, but somebody asked if there is a language requirement for nursing students, or kind of where that line is, or what the answer is for that question.
Yep, for students that have been admitted to the nursing program, they're going to encourage you to take some language classes. You will want to speak to the nursing advisor regarding that. Because your schedule is more put together for you.
Is there a date for family weekend that is set? We had just talked about this in the office the other day.
Hold on. I'm pretty sure I have it. Give me 1 second. But it's not in my brain yet. It is September 30th and October 1st. So it's a Saturday and Sunday. Nursing students are not required to take the chemistry assessment exam, because we have already admitted pre-nursing students directly into the program, and that included some of your science classes from high school, and you had to have a certain grade in chemistry for that. Well, sorry, catching up on questions. During orientation, there's a guest track and a student track. So there will be things that you are doing together, but there are also things that you will be doing separately throughout the day.
Sarah, could you talk a little bit about the student health center and talking about like getting medications and going to the doctor, things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. So when it comes to the Student Health Center and life on campus and getting medications and all of those different things, for anything that you are prescribed prior to coming to Mary Washington, anything that's a daily medication for you, that type of thing, you are going to be responsible for managing on your own. And taking that, you'll be able to have access to that in your residence hall room. You don't have to go and give it to the health center or anything like that. When it comes to refilling those prescriptions, you have a couple of different options in the greater Fredericksburg area. The two most convenient would be the Giant Pharmacy across the street from the university. And then also at the CVS that's by the hospital, because that CVS is 24/7. So it's open all the time. Those are the two probably most convenient locations, but there are other CVS locations that you can go to, and smaller pharmacies as well. The Student Health Center is open Monday through Friday. For students, we do have a doctor and nurse practitioner on staff, as well as a number of different nurses. If you reasons to go to the Student Health Center, you have a sinus infection, strep throat, you're feeling unwell, you think it might be the flu or COVID, things like that, they can do all of those testing and that type of treatment. If you were to fall and possibly break a leg or an arm or something along those lines, we would encourage you to go ahead over to the ER, where they have the capabilities to do x-rays and things like that. So keeping that in mind, the Mary Washington healthcare system and Mary Washington Health Hospital is right across the street from the university. So it is not far for you to go should you break a limb or anything like that, for anything more serious. Carson, what other questions do we have in there?
There's a requirement about like vaccine records that will be a part of your
Your
process
health
before you
forms.
move in, your health
Yep.
forms. Yeah.
So when you move to campus and due by August 1st is the health form. Sorry, I saw the question in the chat and it distracted me. So health forms are due by August 1st. This does include vaccination records that they are going to ask for you to bring over, especially if you're residing on campus. So you will want to make sure that you are scheduling an appointment with your primary care provider prior to that August 1st date. Those health forms, once you have them all together, you will submit them through a portal on the health center website. They do not come to your admissions counselor. You can submit them through the health center portal, which you use your UMW Net ID and password to access. So keep that in mind, that those health forms, they're available for you on the health center website. You will get links to them during orientation, but you will want to schedule that primary care appointment prior to August 1st so that you can load those forms by August 1st. Carson, thank you for answering the double goat day question. Go Goats. Other questions? We do want to make sure that you guys are staying connected with us on social media. And you can do that through a couple of different ways. Of course, I've mentioned the ZME chat, and we can drop that link in there for you. That's a good way to connect with other students in the class of 2027. And then we also have our Mary Washington admissions Instagram. So you can follow the admissions office at Mary Wash Admissions. You can also follow the general Mary Washington account. They're at Mary Wash. And actually our orientation team has a Instagram as well, and they're at UMW orientation. So those are all good ones to follow. Stay connected and get excited about what's to come in just a few months.
I'm going to add something about like the actual move-in day. So you will receive, I believe students receive time slots throughout the day as to whether like what time they're going to be able to drive cars on campus, pack stuff into their dorm room. But there are also teams of students that volunteer on move-in day to kind of help you get stuff out of your car into your building. So there will be help for that. There'll be kind of those big box trolley carts available as well. I saw a question from one of the registrations.
And those are only there
for
for the big move-in day on August 23rd. If you are coming early for Nest, they will not have the same level. They won't have the assistance and the orientation or the move-in day helpers and everything like that. So if you are moving in early for the Nest program or the August orientation for out-of-state students, if you're an out-of-state student, we can chat a little bit more about the August orientation as an option so you don't come in June as well. You will have less group assistance on that one. So keep that in mind. A lot of people ask, what's the best way to pack things? A lot of families really love the IKEA big bags, the big blue bags from IKEA. That seems to be the best way to go. So keep that in mind. That's a good way to transition and bring your stuff in. Yes, you can have a mini fridge in your residence hall room. What I would say is you want to make sure that you look at the guidelines on the Residence Life webpage, because they do have specific specifications that of certain size that it can't be over. Can students go home on the weekend? Yes, students are able to go home on the weekend. We don't keep you here. What we do recommend though is that you don't go home until fall break. And that's really to help you transition and build a community here at Mary Washington. If you're going home every weekend, you're going to be missing out on club organizations and activities and events that are happening. And you'll have a harder time finding your group and finding your fit and people if you're heading home every weekend. When do we find out our roommate assignments? Roommate assignments will come out in early June prior to orientation. And how far is the train station from campus? It is about a mile, or maybe a little more than a mile from campus, but it's right downtown. All right, any other questions? If someone requests to be a roommate with you, you can accept that through your housing and dining agreement, and you need to make sure that you've both listed one another. A question about first years having cars on campus. Cars are, so first years typically are not able to have their vehicle on campus. There are a few exceptions to that. Students in the university's nursing program, students that are on the equestrian team, and students that home address is more than 300 miles from campus. If there is a reason why you believe you should be granted an exception to the parking rule, you will need to contact the Office of Parking Management. There was a question about off-campus students and health forms. Yes, there are health forms for off-campus students, and you can find them in the health center on the health center website. If you are an honors student, do you room with another honors program student? You are not required to. You can live with anyone you would like. Where can we find scholarships on UMW? So every student currently has access, if you've already paid your deposit, to the scholarship manager or the scholar manager for Mary Washington. And that form needs to be filled out no later than May 15th. But also reach out to your personal admissions counselor so that you can have conversations regarding finances and a breakdown of your costs to attend Mary Washington. Yes, you should be able to access your admissions portal after you pay your deposit. If you are having trouble accessing that, reach out to your personal admissions counselor and they can help get it reset for you. You may need to make sure that you're using the appropriate link for that. But if you have already gotten your first year questionnaire email from Dr. Wynn, there is a link in that portal. And if you can't access it from there, we'll need to reset something. A letter of recommendation would not be required for the UMW scholarship manager. Those are mostly for the continuing student scholarships. No, you do not pay for Wi-Fi in the residence halls. Our campus is completely Wi-Fi. In the residence halls, they also have Ethernet port capabilities if you want a wired connection. If you are an off-campus student and you are commuting, you will be able to pay for a parking pass to gain access to park on campus. The housing and dining agreement is available to students who have already submitted their deposit. So Gabby, if you've submitted your deposit, that is available to you and you should have received an email about that. You are not allowed to have a microwave in your specific residence hall room. However, you can, however, there are microwaves in each building. Sorry, trying to keep up with these questions. So you can have, there is a microwave in the building for you to use, but you cannot have a microwave in your room itself. Gabby, to be an RA, you need to be a second year student. Let's see. Venus Flores, I think, are you asking when do bills come out? So if you know that you'll still have out-of-pocket costs that are not being covered by your financial aid award, bills will be released in mid-July and they will be due in August. And again, you will get an email notification when bills are available. I promise you guys, we are not going to let you miss these steps. We will notify you and we will reach out if you have not done something like pay your bill. So rest assured that we will make sure that you are taking those different next steps. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. We hope you learned something. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording. Again, thank you for being here. If you still have remaining questions, please feel free to reach out to your personal admissions counselor. We're always happy to answer those for you. And I hope you all have a great night. Good night.